Hello, this is Helen Thomas on the CDFM study group. We will continue review of CDFM Module 4, Competency 6, Information Technology and National Security Systems. So now that we have our capability in place, what we have to look at is the technology requirements for security. We have these items that we've put into place, but now how do we protect or let's say we use a GPS system on our aircraft or our vehicles. Well, anytime you use the internet, there's a risk that someone can tap into it, right? And steal your identity or know your secrets. So the government has to then look at the availability of that technology to elsewhere, to someone else. So there's a few terms you're going to have to be familiar with in this process. On the bottom of page, let me see, it goes into detail. So let's go to page 462, net centricity. So what does that mean? So it's the understanding that on that global network, that internet world, is interconnecting forces. You can be in another country and talking to someone in this country. So net centricity is the understanding of that global network that's out there. The global information grid, that is the organizing now. Now we know what's out there. How do we control a portion of that grid for the Department of Defense? So throughout the department, they have to look at the GIG, Global Information Grid. The GIG vision is to empower users through easy access to information. So we want our users to be able to access the information, but what about our threats, our enemies? We got to have measures in place to stop them. So those are all the things you're considering in the GIG process, understanding the net centricity. So we want to figure out how it's all put together in this architecture. On page 464, before milestone A, is talking about that initial capabilities document. All it's saying is it needs to be addressed in the ICD. Develop an ICD to describe capability gaps. So when we publish, the JROC published the ICD, initial capabilities document, they're also going to have to address the technology information threats that are out there and what measures need to be put in place. So just looking at the slides on the top of page 464, in the before milestone A is published in the ICD, and before milestone B, which we didn't talk much about earlier, is an updated ICD is a capabilities development document. So the JROC now produces a capabilities development document. As the process moves along, so before milestone C, the JROC again will develop a capabilities production document. So all of these are guidelines throughout the process. So you can kind of visualize that process. So that's all of what I'm saying is on page 464 and 5. And then the top of page 6 is milestone C. What you have to consider on page 468, it's mentioned on the bottom of 7, but the definitions are on page 8, is transforming a net-centric environment. Requires satisfying 4 key features. A list of 4, meaning you need to know if I added an extra one, do you know which one does not belong? Reach, richness, agility, assurance. Reach says distance is not a factor, because again, I'm talking about technology, I'm talking about the internet. I'm not really talking, I can reach, but I'm not considering distance, so space and time. Richness is the operational capabilities, a total set of information, expertise that is available. How rich is the information? Agility is the ability to adapt, change. How fast can that occur? And then the assurance can be operationally defined in terms of achieving an expected goal. So you need to know the definition, but first start with knowing what are the 4 key features when you talk about net centricity: reach, richness, agility, assurance. So what do we need to enhance on 469? Let's look at supportability, interoperability, electromagnetic spectrum. The information support plan. So you got a lot of information between there and on page 13. The paragraph that begins with the Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense. There we go, the NII, Network and Information Integration. Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Networks and Information Integration. Let's see if I can remember that the next time. NII, Networks and Information Integration. So the NII is, you can say, the milestone decision authority for acquisition category, anything dealing with information system, category 1 and 1A programs, and for any other program in which the NII has indicated special interest. So you need to know that position. So just remember, the milestone decision authority for ACAT 1 Delta is the Assistant Secretary of the Army, USD ATNL, from the 2011 study guide, the older study guides, USD ATNL. But when it comes to acquisition category 1AM, he can designate the OASD NII to be the milestone decision authority. Electromagnetic spectrum. This is where I was remembering that embedded. So what you need to know, because I had to write this in, I don't remember seeing it in a book, but I know I've seen it somewhere else. Okay. All right. So when you're talking about equipment can either have embedded technology or standalone technology. Embedded technology is the technology that you put in an acquisition category 1 Delta program. A standalone system, which makes sense now I'm thinking about it, acquisition category 1A, it's already an automation system, an automated system. So it's standalone automation. So acquisition category 1 Delta is embedded systems, and acquisition category 1A programs are standalone. 1A. So actually any of your 1A, because it doesn't matter whether you're at DOD level or, I'm thinking out loud, whether you're at DOD level or component. So acquisition category 1 is embedded, acquisition category 1A is standalone. Voila. Leave it at that. All right, what else we have? I see the page 4619. We got a lot going on here. Let me see. Defense Business System Management Committee. So we got to find out at the bottom what these guys do. Certifying Authority, okay. NII, we just talked about, Network and Information. Investment Review Board, each certification is required to establish. Okay, so my highlight is the paragraph that starts with for Defense Business System. That's where that DBSMC comes into play. Defense Business System that are more than $1 million, the MDA shall not grant milestone or full rate of production approval to obligate funds until the certification required has been completed. The approval activities must be approved by the DBSMC, because this one is different than the other ones. So remember, you do EVM if it's the project's more than 20 million. Then this one says if you have a defense business system, whatever that system is, and that business system is, right? We talk about technology, and that system costs more than $1 million, then the MDA cannot move forward until they have approval from the Defense Business System Management Committee. There you go. So the lead for the certifying authority. So that's the purpose of going back now to the top of page 19. So what you have, the Defense Business System Management Committee is a certifying authority for any business system more than $1 million. All right, so those are the three things. Proprietary Defense Business System approves. So the MDA gets it validated by the component, PCA, certified by the investment review group, the certifying authority, and then the final approval for business system is approved, not by the milestone decision authority. Systems are approved by the Defense Business System Management Committee. On the bottom of page 4621 talks about the Klinger Cohen Act. So you need to look at each factor of what that law brought into place. So let me get my pencil out. All right, Klinger Cohen, information technology. So Klinger Cohen is associated with information technology. Klinger Cohen Act of 1996 designed to improve how we manage IT. It created the Chief Information Officer function. That's one thing it did. Requires to maximize practical intent, use of commercial off the shelf. So say we need to use COTS. Requires that the acquisition meets core DoD functions. Requires determination no private source or existing government agent can better support the function. So we need to determine that no private or existing government agent can better support the function. So Klinger Cohen Act of 1996 created the position, the function of CIO, requires us to maximize the use of COTS, commercial off-the-shelf products, and requires that we meet our DoD function in the acquisition process. Compliance, who's responsible? The program manager is responsible for developing the initial notification of certification report. The component CIO is responsible for submitting the CCA certification, certifying authority report to the DoD CIO. The DoD CIO certifies MAIS, Major Automation Information System Program, CCA compliance with the Klinger Cohen Act. All right. On the top of page 4625, they talk about commercial off-the-shelf software solutions. The key thing you need to know, the second paragraph, commercial off-the-shelf COT is defined as commercial items that require no unique government modification. Commercial off-the-shelf meaning just as it is, we can use it. We don't have to do anything special to be able to transform it to what we need. So commercial off-the-shelf, no unique government modification. And in your summary, it's repeated again. So always read the summaries in Module 4 because it looks like it's some good information there. Then I'm going to move on to Competency 7 because it goes from the information technology to now how do we protect that technology. So Competency 7 is technology protection. The bottom of page 472 talks about technology protection procedures are designed to protect designated science and technology information, DSTI, and critical program information against compromise. We don't need to know, right? So we don't want the ones who don't need it to get it. So DSTI or CPI. DSTI is protected in a lab. It's a controlled environment, protected in a lab. The CPI, critical program information, is your hardware with the information on it. That is and on the bottom, the last paragraph on page 472, in an acquisition program may be classified or CUI about technologies, processes, and they give you the definition of what it is. But later on, let me see, we're going to go into who controls, who protects it? And let me check something before I say it. If not, I'll just repeat it again. Yeah, because it's gonna come, but yeah, it comes back again. But your program manager, so you can write next to CPI, program manager protects the CPI, and the directors in the lab protects the DSTI information. So it'll come up again. So 473, well, if you read through that, DSTI and the CPI again, CPI compromise will significantly alter program direction. So we want to protect the data. But we're going to go all the way to chapter 7.2, page 4710. The first bullet, RDT&E commanding officer, site director. So the site director is the person in charge of the lab. Remember when we talk about DSTI and the lab being controlled? So the site director, program manager, who they designate. The last paragraph, second to last, all IT work and systems storing, processing, or transmitting DSTI should be accredited in accordance. Okay, more information. So I'm just going to skip over like all of this information. I want to get to the meat and potatoes on page 4712. 4712, the program manager with the assistance of a working level IPT, integrated product team, determines the existence of CPI. So remember, DSTI, CPI. DSTI is controlled by the site directors in the lab. CPI is controlled by the program manager. So he determines where CPI information is listed. If he determines something is CPI, then he has to develop a program protection plan, right? Don't just tell me I got a problem. How do I fix the problem? Program protection plan, PPP. And then if you read through that, it tells you the PPP must be done again. So the milestone B, MDA, and look at it. So PPP at milestone B. So just kind of think of the process as it goes through. Programs with foreign participation. Let's say we have foreign allies that we have to deal with and they're using some of our systems. We got to make sure certain information they can't access. So the program manager must now consider what guidelines need to be and protection need to be put in place. So for programs with foreign participation, when a determination is made that any of the following condition exists, a technology assessment, so a TA, technology assessment control plan, and a delegation of disclosure letter, DDL, should be prepared as annexes to the PPP. So not only do you have the program protection plan, because we know we have CPI information, the added documents, if you have foreign entities that's going to be using that information or using that system, then I have to have a technology assessment control plan and a delegation of disclosure authority letter. So the conditions in which this applies is foreign participation in system development, foreign entities helping us develop the system. An allied system will be used. We're using their system, protection. So we're going to put some of our data in there, but we got to protect it. The system will be used in multinational, so you can read through. So TACP and DDL got to be added if foreign entities are going to be involved. So that will go into page 4713, tax at risk management in the program protection. So all of that is considered again, mitigate the loss, program protection plan again. So a lot of this is repetitive. Page 4714, site director again in the program protection plan. Don't forget site directors of the labs